following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Oh, welcome to tonight's Dukes Court. I'm here with Gary Bingo Long Kinn, Chris Nuke-LaLoosh Fletcher, and I'm Dave Moonlight Finoli. How are you tonight, gentlemen?
All right, how are you, Moonlight?
Outstanding.
All I can say,
Bingo.
is hooray for Hollywood. That's all I'm going to say.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Those nicknames are leading into tonight's subject.
Yes.
The top baseball films of all time. We're going to talk about a little of the great baseball movies, as I think we can all agree baseball and cinema have been a perfect match over the years, for the most part. Figure we'll get into some other sports on another show, but we'll start with this. I was looking up some of the great movies, and I came across a pretty good list from the Bleacher Report, the men that did company that apparently had botched up the Mickelson-Woods match this weekend. Did you get that, Fletch?
I was thinking.
I didn't. I was all set to, and at the last minute, I had buyer's remorse, and I decided, I'm not sure that these folks can pull it off. And it turns out, well, maybe I was right.
You were very.
You should start betting. You should have went down to Atlantic City with me, Fletch, because it appears that you were correct in that. So.
Oh man.
What a mess! I mean, all that hype about that. I even saw a couple promos on national TV, and then they botched that. That's awful. So.
Yeah.
Apparently, the event itself was exciting, but I figure maybe they'll have to retool their BR Live. But
well, I mean, here's the thing, guys. Streaming any live event is not easy. So, and particularly if you're talking about walking around a golf course and doing it, that adds another layer of complexity.
It's one thing if it's boxing or a basketball game where you got a small, area to cover and you're indoors. But you're right, Fletch. I mean, that does add an extra degree of element to it. It really does. So, yep.
Well, you made a good choice. But we'll talk a little about baseball. And Bleacher Report actually had a good list with this. They gave 6 honorable mentions in their little list. One being Brewster's Millions, which wasn't a movie that actually fired me up. It was a nice movie, but not one I'd ever had gone back to watch again. I know you love the combination of Richard Pryor and John Candy Gary.
Yes.
But the other ones, a little disappointed didn't make the big list. Angels in the Outfield, 1951 version, probably my favorite of the 50s, 40s, 50s genre. Chasing 3000. Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
Oh, great movie. Great movie.
It is a great movie. Very, very underrated movie. Not a lot of star power. Ray Liotta has a bit role in it, but it's about 2 brothers trying to get to Pittsburgh to see Roberto's 3000th hit.
Interesting. No, I've never seen it.
Yeah. Here's 2 from 1992, and then we'll get into the list and kind of throw it down here. Mr. Baseball, which is actually a movie I like with Tom Selleck in Japan, and
that's not bad.
Pedro Serrano is in the movie. In a more Americanized role. But that was one I liked. But The Babe is here from 1992, The Goodman, which I think is one of the worst baseball movies of all time. How the hell could it get in the top 30 baseball movie list?
Yeah, I mean, topic, but Goodman's swing was horrible. He couldn't have played on the AST women's softball team.
Would you have put him there, Fletch?
He would have been.
Well, when you're fatter than the Babe, then it's not going to go well.
Oh man! So 25. One of my it's a cute movie. Maybe it reaches my sensitive side, but any movie where somebody gets Drew Barrymore several times is a good movie in my in my list. And Jimmy Fallon playing the role of the Red Sox fanatic in Fever Pitch, ironically made as the Red Sox were about to break their godforsaken streak of not winning a world championship and breaking the just the nasty streak, the curse of the Bambino. But I imagine us all as being the Jimmy Fallon character at one point in time, where we sit in our man caves with Pirate or, in your case, Gary, I know you have the Philly man cave down there.
Not quite, but yeah. Nice try. Yes.
You know, I could see us all being this character at one point, minus the fact we'd end up scoring with Drew Barrymore. Fletcher?
Yeah,
your thoughts?
You know. Well, Drew Barrymore is a five-tool player, no question about that. So you know, I think we can all agree on that. It's an okay movie. It's actually, isn't that a remake of another movie that?
It's a British movie where the guy was a fan of Manchester United.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is actually, I saw it on Netflix. It's actually not a bad movie in itself. A little more bitter than this one. This one's a little lighter than that version. But I think just the irony of the 2004. It being about 2004 at Boom, that was kind of a neat thing. But you weren't enamored with this movie as much, I'm assuming.
It was all right. You know, I do like Jimmy Fallon, no question about it.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I think he was better when he was on Saturday Night Live, and he would draw the Nomar. Remember, he'd always yell Nomar, and he'd draw the 5 on the back of his wedding thing. Like, I mean, when I went to Boston a couple times for games, that's a little more accurate portrayal of what's going on around Fenway Park during those Red Sox games.
I'm sure. Did you guys not draw baseball before the advent of the baseball jersey? You had to have gotten the white jersey and drawn the numbers on it. Am I not correct?
Oh, you did. I wore the number 21 proudly.
Yes. I'm not suggesting that it hasn't happened, but I think his smashed nature and his yelling and screaming into the camera and yelling Nomar was something I saw on a fairly regular basis the 2 times I've been in Boston for baseball.
So he's an actual Red Sox fan.
Yeah, he had it down. I think he had it down. And I can't remember who the woman was with him, but kind of can picture. I don't remember her name, but
Drew Barrymore.
Well, but not the movie. I'm talking about the Saturday Night Live. I can't remember who the comedian was with them, but they both had it down, the accent and everything else. So.
All right.
Well, Dave, before we get too far in the list, there's a question I need to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you immediately eliminate all musicals like Damn Yankees? Is that just like thrown out because it's a musical?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure.
Baseball and musicals are not meant to be together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that agreed?
Yes, we'll agree with that. I probably couldn't name too many anyway, so I'd be very quiet during this episode. So.
All right. The next one is Damn Yankee. No. The next one is it's okay. It's okay. Here's where I have a problem with this next movie. June Allison stars in it, and my thought of June Allison is as she was on Depends commercials later in her life. So as I watch this, you know, and I know it's a great story, the Monty Stratton story. Jimmy Stewart, just a king in that story.
Yeah.
But I think of June Allison wetting herself. I wondered if she did that as she got married to Jimmy Stewart in the movie. You know, I think that ruins it for me. Although it's a great movie. Jimmy Stewart does nobody could play melancholy like Jimmy Stewart.
Well, here's the problem with that, Dave. It could not be said in modern times with June Allison because the games are too long. And there's no way to be able to hold it through a 5-hour game.
Do you think that's what caused June Allison's issues later in life?
I think, that and all the dancing. Wasn't she wasn't it the June Allison dancers?
She was a dancer, yeah. You're right.
Monty would have Monty himself would have a little trouble with that. So
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would. She's supposed to, be trying to gear him up with her loveliness, but I don't get it there. I don't get it. Although I give Jimmy Stewart, as I said, an A+ myself. But we'll get into 30s and 40s baseball wives in a second here, because what's coming up here is got to be one of my favorites here. Okay, the next movie on the list, Pride of the Yankees. It's let me see what they call this one. Another one of my favorites. It's The Pride of St. Louis. 1950. A much finer wife there. I think we could agree.
I agree.
Okay. There's no wetness in Depends world for this one. No, I actually like this one a little better than the Monty Stratton story. Depends aside, but I thought Dan Daly did a great job. I mean, you're stuck in the 30s with the fantasy world biopics at that point, but I thought Dan Daly and Richard Crenna did pretty well coming out of it. You got the bitterness. You didn't have the Grover Cleveland Alexander explanation that he was dizzy because he got hit by a ball, not because he was a drunk. And the circle, when somebody's about to collapse, the old-time circle feature where, everybody starts going round and round. You did not have that in this movie either. But I thought it was a solid movie. I thought it captured some of the darkness of Dizzy. Even though it was a little sappy at the end. I know this was one of your favorites, Gary.
Yeah, Dave, I'm laughing because I haven't seen 1 minute of it. So I can honestly can't say much here. So this is going to show how unrounded I probably am.
Oh my God, he gets hit by a line drive. Dan Daly does, and the flip.
Well, I mean, I knew Dean
can't pitch.
A line drive, right? Dean got hit by one, so and it's lucky that Alexander didn't. During most of the second half of his career, but I'm going to have to beg off on this one and rely totally on you two. So.
All right, Fletch, were you?
I love the part where
watching this film, or?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, the part where they show Dizzy going and he's in the broadcast booth and apologizing because of his poor grammar.
Yeah, and the Catholic women who were chastising him, they were realistic.
Oh. It's a stay in school movie.
It is, but it's forgiving. It's a forgiving movie because they forgave Dizzy for his bad language. How the hell does Barry not watch it?
Continued it for the Orioles in the '70s with his self and all that kind of stuff. Brooks continued it in the Oriole broadcast, and I enjoyed in the '70s while he was on the Orioles broadcast team in the late '70s. So he continued the same stuff, same part of the country they were from. So,
did you like the depth, Fletch, on this one? The layers.
Yeah. He played a well-rounded character. It was very nice. Very nice.
All right. I know you're going to be on YouTube, Gary.
Yes, I am.
Now, the next one on this, I'm going to say we not talk about because it is damn Yankees.
Oh, yeah. I
never saw it. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I was forced to see it once.
Heard about it. Probably watched a couple minutes of it. Get enough of the Yankees as it is. Every time somebody sneezes, I think it probably turned me off from that standpoint.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, Doris.
Here's my
not
problem, Dave. I mean, how many people do you know who walk down the street and all of a sudden burst into song? That's my problem with musicals. I'm not there.
I'm saying.
I do that every day, actually.
What songs do you burst into, Gary?
I mean, something just strikes me, and I just do it when I get out of the car, go into the convenience store for a cup of coffee. It's just every day I do that. So
you just sing musicals. It's musicals you're bursting into, correct?
Correct.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you. Fletch. It's, if you're in the dugout and burst into song, you're going to get your ass.
I'm getting drilled. I'm getting drilled my next time up.
Yeah, something bad's going to happen. That's right.
Exactly. It's not a light thing.
No.
The next one is I know I should enjoy this movie, but it just was so damn dark. It just bothered me. And that's Cobb with Tommy Lee Jones.
Yep.
Some yin yang is coming out now and saying Cobb wasn't a bad guy in his book. I don't know if you've read the current book on Cobb, but I have trouble believing that one too, because I remember listening to Sam Crawford on
Glory of Their Times.
Glory of Their Times.
Yeah.
I had the CD, and I listened to his interview, and basically, even back then, they all were saying what a jackoff he was and how bad they hated him. But this was a dark story. I thought it was well written. Tommy Lee Jones, I thought, did a great job in it. But do you guys think it was just too dark?
I thought Hollywood took that a little to the extreme, honestly. I mean, Cobb. I don't think Cobb is a good guy at all. There's plenty of documented history from going into the stands to beat somebody up to having a problem 2 weeks into his rookie season in 1905. But I think the problem with most of these movies, whether it's baseball or boxing or anything else, Hollywood takes it and make it almost too much unbelievable, I think.
Yeah. That
was my view of that one. That one you guys got to give me some credit. That one I did see. Because that era always fascinates me.
Well, you just admitted you saw Damn Yankees, so
yeah,
I don't know if you get full credit.
Yeah, there you go. Right, that's right. I stayed about 7 minutes, perhaps, but yeah, I mean, I think it was typical, much like boxing movies or other movies. They take a little bit of a story and they twist it into something that's a little bit too unbelievable. To my view. So,
did you enjoy it, Fletch?
Well, here's the thing, guys. So imagine this. You get a call from your agent, and you said, hey, I've just landed you this big role in a Hollywood film. You're all excited, and then they tell you you're starring opposite Tommy Lee Jones, and you're like, damn it, no one's going to see me. Yeah. Because that's a guy, no matter what movie he's in, he just takes it over, and you can't stop watching him. And it was a great performance, but very dark, very hard to watch. But, he was, no pun intended, he was at the top of his game for that movie.
Yep. I would agree. I agree with that.
Yep, I agree with that.
Love the performance. Second grade. The greatest performance is in his documentary. It wasn't his, but they did a documentary on the famed tie between Harvard and Yale in 1968, which Tommy Lee was one of the starting offensive linemen on, I believe, Harvard that season. And if you haven't seen that, I know it's a little off base.
No, I'll have to check it out.
It's a fabulous documentary, and he's like very much featured in. Dated Meryl Streep. They were both college students at the time, and he dated Meryl Streep.
Interesting.
Wow.
I've seen a documentary on that, but I don't remember Tommy Lee Jones in the one that I saw. It was more factual. It was guys that had played in the game, which was interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a book out now. Apparently, that's a pretty good one. I don't know if you guys saw it. I only read about it in the paper the other day. There's a book out. I think it might be called 1968, but it centers around that game and everything else going on. Apparently, the guy did a hell of a job. So, or 69 or whatever that year. 68, I guess, was that year. No, I didn't see the one with Tommy Lee Jones. That's interesting, Dave. Did not see.
Yeah, it's actually one of the better football documentaries that I've seen, and he's a huge part of it, and he, I mean, just they go into great detail on this game. It is pretty cool. So if you get the chance, it's worthwhile. Now the next one I'm going to throw out to you guys. It's called Harvard Beats Yale 29-29 is what the DVD is.
That's the one I think I've seen.
Yeah, he's in that. Brian Dowling. The NFL, Calvin Hill. But anyways, the next one here I'm going to pass over unless you guys have seen it and know it, because I've never heard of the movie. It's called Off the Black. Have you guys ever seen that?
Never heard of it.
No. Yeah. Pitching, somebody's a pitcher, I presume?
It's revolves around the relationship between Ray Cook and Nick Nolte, a hard-drinking, lonely high school umpire. You know, that's never going to end well after a discussion like that. Who makes a questionable call against the hometown team, costing him a crucial game. The pitcher who believes the team was screwed by Cook, Dave Tibble, along with some teammates, decide to get payback by vandalizing his house. Cook catches him in the act, leading to a bizarre proposal and an even more unlikely friendship. I just don't know if I want to talk about that anymore.
Wow.
Never heard of it.
How could I have missed something like that?
Well, we know Nick Nolte's going to play the same character he's done 162 times.
Yeah.
Right? So, but never even heard of it, no.
No, it's 20. I guess you got to have one like that. But number 19 is one of Fletcher's great movies. Probably the worst baseball performance of all time, yet I think one of the great movies of all time, Fear Strikes Out, the Jimmy Pearsall story. Anthony Perkins, a great actor, no business even attempting to play baseball. Just was a pathetic mess there, but yet the story was so good. And Carl Malden, he's a frightening character in that, but very well done. I think one of my favorite of the old. And again, the good thing, they didn't make it hokey, they didn't make it uplifting. You know, they just told the damn story, which was rare for the time. But I remember this being one of your favorites, Fletch.
Well, I thought it was a really honest portrayal of mental illness. I mean, which you didn't see at that time. And you're right, Dave. It wasn't over the top. And my God, if Ray Perkins, you know that when it came time for pickup games, that man was the last guy picked. There is no question about that. What an awful-looking swing. He couldn't throw. He was a no-tool player, fellas.
He was up there with the Goodman. He was up there with the Goodman half-girl swing.
He was worse than William Bendix, so I never thought somebody would be worse than William Bendix, but that guy was pretty bad. Did you enjoy it? Have you seen it? Gary.
I did. I thought it was, great acting. That's a dark one a little bit too, and I think it's primarily because, even today, today the world's going another swing. You don't see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't see the kind of stuff that he suffered from and the troubles with everybody he had. You don't see that. So it was a dark one from a different way than Cobb. But that one, it was very nicely done, except for the baseball stuff. Yep.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yep.
Well, they have a recent film called Sugar, which I've seen. It was a decent documentary, but I don't know if it's one I would put in this list. Did you guys see it's about 2008, about the Dominican pitcher from Dominican Republic trying to make it?
Okay.
Never saw it.
Never saw it.
We'll flip over it because I saw it, but I wasn't happy with it.
Never saw it.
Next one, Fletcher has called at one point the most underrated baseball movie of all time. Do you know what that one is?
I'm going to say 8 Men Out.
Nope.
Ooh. Wow. I call it the most underrated baseball.
You called it at one point the most underrated baseball movie ever made, and I agree with you.
Wow. I'm at a loss right now. Please.
The Rookie.
Oh, my God. How did I forget that? The Rookie. Yeah.
The Rookie, which I agree with you. I thought this was just a fabulous film. And Disney did an A+ job on this. I question why it's even rated this low.
I think that's what threw me off, Dave, because I was expecting that to be like a top 5.
Yeah, no, 17. The movie, at the end of the movie, it tears me up every time, which is just a great end of a movie if it does that every time. I must have seen this one about 30, 40 times.
Oh, I weep like a baby on that one.
You have to.
The kid that's pitcher the Minnesota Twins, is this the one?
The Tampa Bay Rays. Jim Morris.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Did you watch it?
True story.
Oh, yeah. What were you going to say, Fletch?
Disney makes great sports movies. They really do. They know how to do it. Between that and, when they did Miracle, still one of the top 5 sports movies of all time. But great performance by Quaid in that one. He actually looks like he could play. Even at his advanced age, he looked like he could play. Just a great storyline, great family line with it. It's the perfect movie to show a kid.
Absolutely. He nailed it. I mean, Quaid nailed it. Everybody in the movie nailed it. Disney nailed it. It fires you up. I mean, that's what a good sports movie should do.
Yeah.
I
can't believe that it's 17. That's just blows my mind.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to watch that one, Gare?
I mean, I don't think I've seen the whole thing. I have seen chunks of that, and I agree with both of you guys. I think Quaid was very good. I had forgotten about that. But yeah, I don't think I've seen the whole thing. I've seen big chunks of it. I thought it was pretty well done, though. I agree. So, Quaid does look athletic. He didn't have some of the ills of a couple of the other ones we referred to. So, good story too. A real story, right? It took Morris forever, right? It took him to his 36 or 7 or whatever to get there, right? So.
Well, he got injured and quit the game, and I don't want to ruin it for you because I want you to watch this movie, Gare.
You will weep. You will weep, Gary.
You will weep at the end. It's a great movie. It really is a great movie.
I do remember that getting some pretty good reviews in all seriousness. And trust what you guys are telling me. You guys are obviously a lot more well versed in this than me. So.
Well, the next one up I've never seen. I don't know if you guys, it's called Up for Grabs. Story of the 2 guys who thought they had Barry Bonds' 716th homer.
No, never saw it.
Remember the story because they both got their hands on it and went to court and everything, right? Yeah. But I didn't realize there was a movie about it. So
apparently there is.
Never saw it.
And it's ranked higher than The Rookie.
Ranked higher than The Rookie.
That's
just like Bang the Drum Slowly is.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a tearjerker.
One of De Niro's greatest films. That's one that just rips your heart out. I think Fletch Gary misses these rip your heart out movies because he's what?
He's afraid to cry. And he's a heartless bastard.
More unrounded and not a great, as a result, not a great conversationalist unless it's very specific interest. So,
oh man.
But here's the pairing in that movie is the fact you have one of America's greatest actors in playing in America's greatest sport. I mean, it's just, and Michael Moriarty it's amazing in that movie as well.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I have seen chunks of that one. That's a very good one as well. I agree with that.
It's De Niro playing a role you never thought you'd see him play and just nailing it.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, this is the guy who bulked up to play Jake LaMotta and then lost that weight to play the young Jake LaMotta.
Yeah. Which he did a fabulous job in there.
He was.
But I hope you've seen this one, Gare. Which another one that I wasn't sure I'd like, but I really did, and that's 61.
Yep, I saw it.
Yep. What'd you think of it?
I liked it. I mean, I liked it. I think, they're all a little Hollywoodized, but I thought it kind of told the tale pretty well. Kind of showed, what Maris was going through. I thought, I liked it. None of these things pull at my heartstrings, so to speak, or anything like that. But I do remember thinking, this isn't bad, given that story. So I can't remember actors' names and stuff like that. Just shows again how unrounded I am. But I think they took some of the things that Maris went through, but they didn't overdo it. Like some of the boxing movies and stuff with the they didn't overdo it. I thought in that movie, which is what always impresses me about that. So.
Well, I thought any movie that introduces America to Barry Pepper, one of Fletcher's favorite actors.
Yeah.
Oh, what a job he did in that movie! And you guys realize that was a Billy Crystal project. He's the one who got that thing going. And
now that you mention it, I remember that. I didn't remember that until you mentioned it, but you're right, Fletch, he did.
So it really read like a love letter to the Yankees that he grew up with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And Anthony Michael Hall as Whitey Ford. Good casting.
Oh, he did a great job as Whitey Ford. I thought that was just a well put together movie, and you're right. You could see the passion of Billy Crystal in it. Loved the last scene where he recreates his first Yankee game, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's interesting. That's another one I think should be higher.
I mean, I think that should probably be higher than some of these other ones I never even heard of, honestly. But
yeah, well, I think sometimes
Crystal's a good interview. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him when he talks to people about not just the Yankees, but kind of baseball in general in New York in those days. It's not the New York bias. We're better than everybody, or this is more important than anybody else. It's pretty nicely done, you know. So he's a good interview.
No, he just loves the team. He loves the team.
Yep.
You know, number 13 on this list is a Yankee film, and I'm going to let you take a guess at what it is, Fletch.
Wow, man, you're putting the pressure on me here.
Classic old one. I'll say classic old Yankee film.
Oh, are we going to say Pride of the Yankees?
Another Pride film, yes.
Wow, I would have thought that would have been higher, but that's okay. It's all right.
I know. I haven't looked at the top 10 of this list. I looked at a couple low, so I'm starting to think, you know, what you're thinking. But that was just coming off just the idiocy of the Babe Ruth story with William Bendix. I mean, this goes in a whole different direction for 1942, instead of trying to do the same hokey crap with Lou Gehrig.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it goes a little darker, and I thought that's why this made this a great movie.
Well, two fun facts about that movie, Dave. One, they got a better person to play Babe Ruth than they did in the William Bendix movie of Babe Ruth. They actually got Babe to play himself, so that was some good shrewd casting there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is they shot that movie in a mirror because Gary Cooper was left-handed.
Oh, that's right. Oh, very, very good fact.
That's interesting. Mm.
Oh man, but a little surprised at that ranking there. 12th is an underrated one, and if you haven't seen this one, I highly suggest you do. It's a documentary about Hank Greenberg, and just a fabulous job of going through with some interviews, Walter Matthau, Alan Dershowitz, and just really tells in detail kind of the lost story of Hank Greenberg and what the first true superstar, Jewish superstar in baseball went through, and some of the things he did, and it gives you a good appreciation of Hank. Have you guys ever had a chance to see this one?
What's the name of that, Dave?
The name of it is The Life and Times, I believe, The Life and Times of Hank Greenberg.
I mean, I've heard about this. I've not seen it. That would be interesting because, I mean, Greenberg was he seems to always get discounted, particularly with that stretch he had with all the homers and the RBIs and stuff. He just never seems to get, the same credit that some other guys in that era do. But that I haven't seen it. I think I'd be interested in that, though.
Much of you gotten a chance?
I did. I liked it a lot. And you're right, Gary. I after seeing that, I was thinking, this is a guy who's always overlooked. I mean, you know about Babe Ruth, obviously. You know about Jimmy Fox, but people don't talk about Hank Greenberg in the same way.
Yeah,
and he was, he was a hell of a ball player, but an even better story, and someone who was very inspirational for a lot of people who. There's the old joke about the smallest book in the library, the famous Jewish sports legends. Well, let me tell you guys, there are a lot of great Jewish athletes, and Hank Greenberg, along with Sandy Koufax, I think I would put up there as 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
I mean, Greenberg, not only a great player, but a guy who came through in the clutch. Coming back from the war.
Yeah, he served in World War II, right? He was one of the first ones to go, wasn't he?
He was.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And, I mean, would have been hit 500 to 600 home run hitter if not for the war.
Yeah. Yep.
Those were truly some prime years he missed. And he comes back and has a game of a lifetime in the final game of the season to take him to the pennant. I think it was 45.
Yeah. Cubs. Yep.
So, now the next one, number 11. We're not in the top 10 yet. Your other most underrated film of all time, Fletch.
Oh man, you're putting the pressure on me tonight.
Eight Men Out. Eight Men Out.
Sorry. 8 Men Out.
Sorry. 8 Men Out. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's not in the top 10.
No, and this really, just the way the thing that gets me about this movie is not only the perceived accuracy of it, but just the way it flows so wonderfully. You're like watching it an hour, and it flows so wonderfully. It seems like you've only been watching it a few minutes.
Yeah, Sales did a great job. He really did. Did a fantastic job. It's John Sales, right?
Yes.
He did a fantastic job. I don't understand how that can't be in the top 10. To me, that from everything from the accuracy to the story itself to, most of those game scenes were pretty realistic. There'll always be a little bit of phoniness to it, but pretty realistic. I mean, the list makes me wonder that you're looking at, Dave, because to me that's got to be in the top 10.
Well, you'd think. As I said, I don't know.
I don't watch a lot of these movies, but I've watched that one. Certainly watched it 1 or 2 times in full, and when it's on, I still have a tendency to watch it. Hell, it might just be for the uniforms, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Well, John Sales appears in the movie too.
He does.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
He does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he is quite the baseball fan. In fact, I read an interview where he said that growing up he didn't want to be in the movies; he wanted to be a baseball player. And this is my favorite quote from him. He said everything he learned about style he learned from Roberto Clemente.
That's a great quote.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mm.
And you even get the legendary writer Studs Terkel has a role in this movie as well.
Yeah.
So it's just really well done. The soundtrack, everything is just, it is a perfectly made movie. All of the actors look like they could rake. Charlie Sheen looks like he could hit.
Yeah. Oh, he's one of the great
Cusack,
one of the great athletic actors of all time.
But here's the thing, though. In real life, Eddie Collins was a really ugly man, and they cast a pretty boy actor. I don't remember who it was to play Eddie Collins.
Yeah,
Collins did have big ears and big lips. He really did.
He could fly.
He was the Don Mossy of his age.
Oh man, you know what? You're right. You're right. You're on track with that. That would be his doppelganger. And the way, what's he portrayed in the movie as, Fletch?
Oh, he's a busher.
He's a busher. He's a busher in the movie.
See, that's the movie that got me to use the term busher.
Charles Comiskey, busher.
Yeah.
The old Roman.
Won't clean the uniforms. Yeah.
He's a busher.
Yeah. Right.
That's the other thing I liked about it is they showed some of the players being assholes, and they also showed the reason why some of the players did what they did. So I thought that was a very good historical.
Well, that speaks to what Fletch is saying. I mean, obviously Sales knew this history. This wasn't just him whipping this together to try to make a couple bucks on the screen in those days. I mean, he knew the history.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Now, the next, number 10, as we get into the 10 here, is a new one, 42. I would. That's one of my favorite new movies. Newer baseball movie. I would like it in the top 10. I agree with it there. I thought it was a very good, accurate portrayal of Jackie Robinson. Christopher Maloney did not remind me of Leo DeRocher, but he did a good job playing him.
Yeah.
DeRocher was not a pretty boy either.
No.
But I thought the guy who came out in this one the best was Harrison Ford, which surprised the hell out of me because when I heard he was going to be Branch Rickey, I had my doubts whether he could pull it off, but I thought he pulled it off and then some.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, didn't he play Branch Rickey in another movie after that? Or am I imagining that?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But what a performance is Branch Rickey, and a great portrayal of Jackie Robinson. Now, there's talk that the same group is looking at doing a Clementi biopic. They're in negotiations with the family, from what I understand.
Man, I keep hearing that. I hope they do. I'm just stunned. 46 years later, they haven't made one. It seems like a Clementi pick would be a natural. And as good as Chasing 3000 wasn't really a Clementi pick.
No. It was your coming of age movie, Dave. Yeah. That's what they call it in Hollywood.
Right. It was. Oh man, that's a good portrayal of it. Good portrayal. Now, number 9, might not be a historically correct movie. It might not be, one you sit back and makes you weep every time. But damn it, it was a fun movie and a guilty pleasure movie. I would say it was A Sandlot.
Yeah,
one that just took your childhood, and that's everybody's childhood except for the big ass dog and James Earl Jones next door. But I just thought that was a classic movie. We all can remember being on The Sandlot in this generation. I don't know that others can, but
yeah.
It's a guilty pleasure movie. It's one I'm just going to watch it every time I see that it's on TV. And I know you probably weren't, Gary, but I was in my younger days the kid in the fish hat. Okay. Oh man! Now you had to have seen that one, Gary.
I liked it. I thought it would definitely appeals to our age group and a little behind it and ahead of it. I think if you showed that to people that are 20 years younger than us, they probably wouldn't understand it because going to breakfast was orchestrated. And all the different kids in the neighborhood. But I liked it, and that is one that if you can get a kid to watch it, no matter what group they're in, it'll appeal. So that should be in the top 10 in my view. That'll appeal to a lot of different people.
Fletch, do you have parties watching that movie?
I like the movie. I'm surprised that it's had the staying power that's had.
Yeah, me too, a little. Yeah, a little bit.
You see people wearing T-shirts that say "You're killing me, Smalls." It's more of a cultural phenomenon than I ever thought it would be. Because I really thought it was geared toward people our age. And then you see people who are much younger than us who quote that movie. It's astounding to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's the way I feel too. That's interesting. It really has. It's more than just the baseball and all that stuff there that I think caught people. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but you're right, Fletch. I agree.
It's to me, it's like a Christmas Story, a movie that you just wouldn't look at it and think it's a legendary movie, and it just something about it just makes you want to watch it every time.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, it's true. It's true.
Well, there's no crying in baseball in the next movie, A League of Their Own, which. I knew nothing, literally nothing about the Women's League, All Americans Girls Professional Baseball League before this came out, and really gives you I thought it was well done. I thought it was kept the hokiness to a minimum and really laid out what that league was about, and an important time in small city America where most of the talent was. Off in Europe, and they needed to go outside the box to entertain and kind of keep the morale of the country up. And I thought this really did a hell of a job in kind of laying out that story, laying out, the horrors of war with it. Certainly, I believe Tom Hanks was inspired. That was the Jimmy Fox story later in his life, but. I really liked it. I really thought it hit well. It got a little hokey at times, but it kept it to a minimum, and I thought told a good story. I surprised a little bit that the Sandlot would make it just on aesthetic value of baseball, but this one I think deserves in the top 10. Fletch, I know it's a favorite of yours.
Well, the only thing I don't like is just the thought of Rosie O'Donnell being sweaty. That kind of disturbs me a little bit. But great performance. Tom Hanks is amazing in that movie. Really is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, here's this. When we started talking about this movie tonight, funny thing, guys, I thought about both of your wives. And I thought, you know what? Patty and Viv, they could have played in that league. No question in my mind.
I think you're right about that, actually. Yep.
Yeah.
I think they would be boppers in that league.
Well, Viv would have been pissed off having to wear the skirt and ripping up her knees. I know Viv would have been tough with that one.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think they both would have been very...
Funny you say that, Fletcher, because I saw that with Patty, and that was kind of her comment during it. Like, I didn't even know this existed, but this would have been pretty cool. And that one, I think, deserves underrated credit for the historical aspect.
I agree.
They did spend time on the uniforms and the parks and the cities and stuff like that. They didn't over-Hollywoodize it. It wasn't quite sales with all the uniforms, or even, I'm sure, one that's going to be mentioned later with all the different eras and uniforms and that kind of stuff. But it was damn better historically, too, than people ever gave it credit for, in my view.
Yeah.
So,
there were Pittsburgh connections to this, too.
What were they?
There were some women from Pittsburgh who played in that league. If you go to the Western Pennsylvania Sports Museum, you'll see a uniform that was worn in the league.
Fletch, now that you mention it, you're right. I forgot about that when you go there.
And I can't remember the woman's name who played.
You're right, though. You're right about that. Yep.
Oh, man. Well, I know I went from not knowing they existed to on my first shelf, on my little autographed baseball section in the man cave is an autograph from several of those women that I got at the 2006 Fan Fest. And proudly have it up there with some starting lineup. After the movie, they got some starting lineup love.
I remember
that.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah. Deservedly so.
It did well. It was a popular movie, and it was better and more historical than everybody gave it credit for.
Oh, yeah. No,
Could be in the top 10.
I would agree. This next one, I've never seen it. I don't know why it's in the top 10. It looks intriguing, though. It's called Pelotaro. And it's a story about two 16-year-old Dominican Republic players called Miguel Sano and Jean Batista, who are turned 16 and they're eligible to sign with an MLB team. And I guess it shows the seediness of what Major League Baseball does to these kids and why, in my mind, there should be an international draft. Intriguing that I want to see it. Narrated by John Leguizamo, and Bobby Valentine is an executive producer. But it seems like a very intriguing prospect for a movie.
When did that come out?
What's the name, Dave?
It's called Pelotaro. Let me just look at this up here.
I don't remember that at all.
Ballplayer Pelotaro. I've never heard this. It came out in
Never heard of it.
2008, 2012. But it seems very intriguing. I'm not sure I'd name it in the top 10, but I assume you guys haven't heard of that one either?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Not once.
Well, it's 7.
Probably a private, filmmaking company or real small or something. Never got attention. Probably deserved. Never heard of it. Never.
Well, intriguing. Number 6, I'm not sure if it deserves number 6, but man, it was, as an Indian fan, it was fun to watch, especially when the team wasn't doing so well, and that's Major League. Funny, it flows well, never a down moment, and it's one where the sequel, to me, was just about as good as the original. Again, I'm not sure it deserves a top 10 rating, but, it makes you laugh. And, the thought last year when the Pirates started playing hard after being told they're being broken up of the Pirates in the locker room taking pieces of clothing off Neil Huntington as inspiration. I think that puts it in there. Did that not trouble you, Fletch?
Just a little bit. No, great movie. The Pedro Serrano character alone is worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And who knew he'd go on to be president in 24, paving the way for Barack Obama? I know. You know, he was president and told you what car insurance is best. Yeah, said he couldn't hit the curveball. Could not
hit the curveball. He could not hit. But
then Jobu weighed in.
Oh, they have a Jobu. I saw it on, I think it's Clark Toys. Had a Jobu McFarland toy on it.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And that's not in your man cave yet.
It will be. It deserves to be in the man cave, I think.
Yeah, put your pack of cigarettes in front of it and a little bit of rum, and you'll be all set for any baseball game, Dave.
That's all I'm saying. But it's a good movie.
Maybe it'll work. You know, maybe it'll work. What a pirate hat in yours.
I know.
Whatever happened to the owner? Never saw her again. Whatever happened to her? I would have preferred to see her again, but never saw her again.
Well, remember, she sold the team to Dorn and then had to rebuy it at the end of the next season. And must have sold it back to Dorn because in Major League, Minor League, which if you haven't seen that, don't. But
did not.
But I thought the characters were just great in this. Classic.
Yeah,
everything just meshed.
It did. Didn't seem that long ago, but it is.
Yeah.
30 years ago. So.
Now, the next one here is 34 years ago. It's a movie about a guy who dates at the same time Glenn Close and Kim Basinger. And he picks Glenn Close. I'm not sure I go there at the time. But I'm conflicted about The Natural. It's a great story. It's a great book. I've read the book, and I love it.
Yep.
I just, sometimes the hokiness gets a little too much in this one.
I thought it did.
A much better book than movie.
Yeah, I would say so.
Hollywood took that to its ridiculous extreme. Yeah.
Although here's the thing, it's been lampooned so many times too. Especially The Simpsons did a great takeoff on that a few times.
True. They did.
But Wonder Boy, who among us wouldn't have Wonder Boy?
Well, in the first place, you know me, I'm not going to take the time to chop a damn tree down, and much less, carve a bat out. I'm going to go to the store and buy one. Maybe I'll ask the guy to carve Wonder Boy in it because, again, I'm not sure I take the time for that. Maybe I'm different.
I don't know, Dave. I think I'm with you.
So.
I'll place my.
What you would do it, wouldn't you? You're chopping the tree down and you're making Wonder Boy, aren't you?
Oh, I am. I'm getting all splintery. I'm getting my hands all calloused. I'm taking out those lights because, damn it, I hate the lights.
You got to hate the lights. And why didn't the place catch on fire at the end?
Yeah, good question. So.
Nobody sued them for the shards of glass that went into their neck or into their beer, rendering it undrinkable.
Well,
same thing at the fireworks in the upper deck at Three Rivers Stadium. You had to watch. You had to get out of there. Hair might catch on fire.
He got on fire. Did you ever get on fire at Three Rivers Stadium, Fletch?
That's why I don't have hair now, fellas. It's a tragic story.
Went to a July 4th game, Fletch.
I did, and I when Stars and Stripes Forever starts playing now, I get all weepy.
Fun for Hills.
You get in that fetal position. It just scares me.
Oh, please. I remember my first time being in the stadium and seeing burnt firework flying at me and wondered what the hell's going on here. And, they didn't put the fire extinguisher in the stands. They were just concerned about the turf burning, but not about human flesh burning.
No, I don't think they cared about that.
No.
And I went in with a T-shirt one time and came out with one of those football shirts that had all the air holes in it. that they used to wear in college football. And Patty's line was, "Let's get the hell out of here." When the stuff when it was raining down on you in that upper deck at Three River Stadium. So
Viv used to call me a pussy, pardon my language, for wanting to leave the stadium and watch them outside. She'd look me straight in the face and call me a pussy.
You get caught on fire that way. So
I'd take the man points. I'll take the man points for that.
She said there's no crying in fireworks, Dave. That's what she said.
He was right.
I mean, obviously we all experienced it, so they really never decided to change the operating style of it. So
well, I guess they figured if people in Knight Stadium could deal with the flying glass and.
Yeah. What are you complaining about?
Yeah, there's no glass raining down on you, fellas. Get back in your seat.
Be quiet. Just enjoy the fire. Enjoy the fire shards raining down on you.
Oh man, I'll tell you. The next one was a movie, number 4, a movie that I thought was going to be awful because I liked the Moneyball movie or book. Didn't love it. I thought the movie would be dry as hell, but I actually thought it was a fabulous. I mean, it's number 4 in here, which is probably a tad high, but I thought it was an outstanding job. I thought it was well written. I thought it was entertaining as hell, and I really enjoyed the movie. It was probably the one movie that surprised me more than anything else.
I liked it too, Dave. I thought it was. I mean, there's a little bit. They never talked about the fact that you ran out Mulder, Hudson, and Zito.
Yeah,
I mean, it was all Scott Hatteberg and his walks.
Yes,
which is BS. But other than some of those Hollywood, what's the word I'm looking for? Oversights. I thought it was pretty well done. I really did. I mean, I think they made some of the older scouts look a little bit foolish with, well, he looks good. I mean, that is a factor. And that saying isn't because he looks good in the uniform. It's because of the swing and all that kind of stuff. Saw a lot of old bucks do that when my dad was doing some years ago. But I agree. I thought it was pretty nicely done. I mean, it wasn't over the top with the portrayal of Bean or anything else. And it did portray kind of Oakland's problems at that time. I agree. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure I'd put it above a few of these others, but it was okay. It was nicely done, I thought.
Much.
Good movie. Probably ranked a little high for me, but great performance by Jonah Hill. Actually, I thought he stole that movie.
Yeah, he did.
I would agree with you.
He did. He did.
Number 3 makes me a little bitter. Makes me bitter because it's number 3. To me, this is the greatest movie of all time. A movie so good that it overcomes what I consider a poor Kevin Costner performance. This movie was one I went into. I didn't know what the heck it was. I went just because it was a baseball movie. Viv and I wanted something to do. Wasn't expecting much of it. And she kept commenting after, as she would look at me through the movie with my jaw dropped open. I thought it was an amazing movie, a movie that gives me goosebumps to this day, a movie that will put me in tears every single time at the end. And this is one of the few, if only, movie I've watched triple-digit times over the year. At least twice a year I watch it. I mean, James Earl Jones' performance is one of the great movie performances of all time. Yeah. One of my favorite lines from it. Somebody was whining because Ray Liotta was batting right-handed in the movie, and the guy who, again, his name is escaping me right now, who wrote the book.
Kinsella.
Yeah, Kinsella. How did that escape me?
I don't know.
Ray Kinsella. But somebody asked him, and is troubled by the fact that Ray Liotta is batting right-handed. So he looks at him and says, "So you're okay with the fact that dead guys are coming out of the cornfield to play baseball in the middle of Iowa, but you have a problem with the film because Ray Liotta is batting right-handed."
Savor insanity, Dave. Savor insanity and ego.
Man, but I can't. There will never be a film to me that's any greater than this. And you know, maybe I just don't. I'm giving no films any chance, but to me, this just it's the perfect movie. It's the perfect feel-good movie. It's you get some history out of it, and just every twist and turn. And I don't know about you, but I was so into this movie, I never saw the dad thing at the end coming, and that's to me what makes it that much more fabulous. I never saw it coming. I was so wrapped up in it that I wasn't thinking ahead. Who could it be? What's it about? You know, this is one of the few movies I just sat there and followed it and enjoyed it. And at the end, I was so overcome when it was his father. And 100 times later, it still catches me. I mean, I'm not sure if you get the same feel, Fletch, but, you know,
well, I've got two stories about that.
Yeah.
So, you know, me being raised, my father and mother split when I was 4 years old. I never really saw my father again. He died in his 30s of cancer.
Yeah.
So when that scene came, it was like an emotional floodgate for me. It was unbelievable because it was just like, here's this guy who had this chance that I would never get. So I had part of that going on with me.
Yeah.
The other memory I have from that movie revolves around the guy I used to work with, and he was a sales guy in a publishing company. Effective sales guy, just not a very good human being.
Yeah.
And a bunch of us were when the movie had just come out. We had all seen it. And we were driving back from a convention in Las Vegas. We were driving back to L.A. and we were talking about this movie. And Fred was the salesperson's name, said, you know what? I liked the movie. I just didn't like the end. And we're all looking at each other like, well, what do you mean you didn't like the end? Well, it didn't show him raking in all the money, was the response.
God. Yeah.
And at that point, I just said, Fred, you are the biggest asshole I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the guy who owned the company actually said, he said, fellas, I think we should take a vote here. Who thinks that we should make Fred walk the remaining 45 minutes to get home? And it was very close.
That's good and well deserved. I'd have made him walk. But
the speech, the James Earl Jones speech is it's one of my favorite moments in the movie.
Doesn't that goosebump you every time you see that?
Every time. There's that movie, there's The Godfather, and there's The Right Stuff. That when it's on, I stop and I watch.
The Right Stuff, yeah. I've never seen The Godfather, as you know. You've even bought me the film. It's sitting on my, sitting in my DVD section downstairs. I'll watch it and honor you. But the other two, I'm with you. The Right Stuff is one of my favorite movies of all time, too. Just classic. Great book to boot. Now, Gary, don't tell me you were a heartless bastard and never watched.
I'm just surprised it's not first. I think I'm stunned that that's not first.
There you go.
It was my expectation as well.
Because beyond all the things that you guys are talking about, everybody's got this. You know, I mean, everybody's got some family member, or even if it's not, you don't get the chance, or there's time passes, or there's a miscommunication, connection, been through that kind of stuff myself. I mean, everybody associates with that, woman, man, everything else. Beyond, Jones is just a great actor. I mean, and no matter what he does, I mean, he's a little dramatic, but he's excellent at what he does or did. But again, I think the underrated part here, to me, guys, is the historical accuracy. I mean, other than the Jackson batting right-handed, I mean, the uniforms, talking about the personnel, and the guys out in the field throwing a ball, just the sounds too, like the sounds of hitting the ball, catching the ball, just sensational. I can't believe that's not first.
And bringing Moonlight Graham to life.
And how about that performance by Burt Lancaster? Wasn't that his last movie?
Oh, that was his last movie. That little speech he gives when they see him in Minnesota about his life, basically being happy with where his life ended up, and how he describes just getting one chance. I mean, can't be any better. Can't be any better.
And just again the work. I mean, you got to do some work. Hollywood doesn't anymore have the patience or anything else, and nor do some of the people that are directing it or controlling it have the patience.
Right.
I mean, to look up a Moonlight Graham, one at bat in 1905.
Yeah.
One obscure.
He was a doctor in Minnesota. He ended up being a doctor in Minnesota.
Exactly. I mean, and to look that up, and to tie that in, that takes some work. I mean, it's not a lot of work, but it takes some beyond the imagination. So again, I mean, I think very underrated that way. So. But now I can't believe that's not first. I'm trying to figure out what's first and second, to be honest with you. But I thought that would be first one and
second,
1A. So.
Second is a cute movie, not one of my favorite movies, though. Bad News Bears. Good movie.
Oh, come on. Come on.
That's no way that should be above, but,
Come on.
Kids love it.
Yeah.
But that's for kids to me. I think Mathau's in that, right? I mean, excellent, movie for kids, but, if you talk about baseball movies of significance, that's got to be that. I'm not sure that would be in my top 10. That's interesting. Personal opinion, I guess, but, yeah. So.
Fletch?
I wouldn't even put it in my top 15.
Wouldn't be in my top 10, that's for sure. So,
creepy Walter Matthau in there.
Yeah.
To me, a good classic movie is one that you're going to watch time and time again. I'm not even in the least bit interested in seeing that movie a second time.
I mean, have you got little kids, maybe? But that's it. Little kids playing baseball, maybe. But that's it. That's certainly not an adult movie, in my view.
No, I would agree.
Doesn't belong here. So.
Well, I think you can all. We're missing one, and I think you can all guess which one that would be.
No, I've struck out all night tonight. So I'm not even going there.
It's Susan Sarandon. Susan Sarandon is in this movie. Kevin Costner.
Oh my God! How did I forget that?
Fletcher and Gary, what's it?
Bull Durham.
Yeah.
Bull Durham. Which I would actually have in my top three. I thought that was a classic.
I would too.
Creation of minor league baseball.
Yeah. Yep.
By a guy who played minor league baseball, So I mean, he writes good sports movies too. He's written a few.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What else?
I'm trying to think what else. There was another one that he had done. No, I'm blanking out. Let me think. You guys keep going. Let me figure it out here.
I mean, it's good. It's a good story. It appeals to women and men.
Yeah.
It had some historical accuracy too, with that South Atlantic League or whatever that league was. I mean, that should be in the top 10 for sure. But I think Field of Dreams is miles better than that.
Oh, I would agree. I mean, this one was a great story. I would put it probably my second favorite. And here's a little known fact. One of the hidden stat of Bull Durham is the fact Bill Rainier has never watched it.
Wow.
Get out of here. Wow.
Yeah. Never watched it.
Just doesn't care about baseball movies or movies, probably.
No. I mean, baseball is like religion to him, and he's seen about every baseball movie there's ever been.
Okay.
And that's the weird part about it. He has not seen this movie.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So Ron Shelton also did White Man Can't Jump and Tin Cup.
Tin Cup, one of my favorites. White Man Can't Jump, certainly a great movie.
Yeah.
Those are three classics.
That's Harrelson and Snipes and Rosie
Perez,
right? White Man Can't Jump. Yeah.
But I mean, two other movies I are left out of here that I would put in, and then I'll ask for yours. Soul of the Game, an HBO movie about the Negro Leagues, as Jackie Robinson gets signed, which I think is a very underrated movie. I thought it was very well done. Just to me, captured the era and the time perfectly. And one is a third Kevin Costner baseball movie, which to me, it's showing my sappy, sensitive side, I'm sure. But I thought how they replayed his perfect game in a movie called For the Love of the Game, where he intertwines a perfect game he's pitching with his little love story that goes on. But I thought that was a good baseball movie. I thought that kind of captured the essence of how players feel about their careers in the game, and just I thought captured that whole perfect game nicely. Well, we're a couple of years.
He's Detroit Tiger in that, if I recall.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they got the great Vin Scully to be in that movie.
Oh, exactly. Makes a great call.
That's the top 25 versus a few of these others, in my view, for sure.
Well,
I agree.
A movie that the guy who wrote The Killer Angels, Jeff Shara, actually wrote the book of this, which kind of stunned the hell out of me. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Killer Angels, to me, one of my top 2 or 3 books of all time, about Gettysburg, which the movie Gettysburg was based off of.
Yeah.
But he wrote that movie, and I really didn't think I'd like it, but I got lost in that one. I enjoyed that a lot. What were some of the ones you guys have seen that might be on this list that is not?
Go ahead, Gary.
I mean, I don't really, honestly, I'm weaker here. I'm weak in far more than you guys are in general in terms of well-roundedness. Some of these I haven't even heard of. I mean, I think I don't really have much to add there. I was thinking about, I didn't know we were going to talk about baseball movies. I had some other movies that weren't baseball.
What are 2 other non-baseball movies?
I mean, to me, I was thinking about just sports movies in general. Fletcher touched on it. Miracle was fantastic. I still watch that one every time. I know hockey's my game, but I thought the portrayal of Brooks was fantastic. He keeps yelling at what team do you play for, and then finally Erusione's the only one that says the United States. Fantastic. They're hokey as hell, and they're always overdone. But Rocky 1 and 3, I mean, all these we're probably up to Rocky 19 or Creed 15 as a bunch of.
No, wait a minute. You didn't like when Rocky saved the world in Rocky 4?
No, I think that if you're going to make a boxing movie, make it accurate as you can. I mean, obviously the violence in those movies was over the top. I mean, all of those others with Drago and Tommy Morris and his son, all that nonsense. I mean, it just honestly I couldn't even stand them. But
so you didn't become one with let's love the Russians. Let's become one as a people. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, he always wanted to make a political statement. He still does every time he's interviewed. He's a genius on how to fix boxing, too, which is a bunch of crap.
Oh, yeah.
But 1 and 3 really did portray what happens. 3 I thought was fantastic. I mean, T was out of control with the over-the-top personality, but you do have animals like that.
Yeah.
Yelling at people like that. You see it all the time in these press conferences, and I thought, Rock's driving up in the beginning and with the driver and the wife, I can't remember her name, Adrian, she's, all dressed up and everything else. And he's living in this big mansion. I mean, it's exactly what happens. It's portrayed extremely well.
Right.
I mean, those, there's a couple boxing movies I thought were great. Play It to the Bone, which is a comedy, but it had Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. It portrayed pretty well what happens. This guy's driving to Vegas for one payday of any significance. Pretty well done. Good boxing scenes in it. I thought it's funny. One of you guys, I guess it was Fletch mentioned, or you did, James Earl Jones. The movie Great White Hope, which is an old one, you don't see it very much, but in the early 70s.
Oh, I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
He was sensational in that. Johnson wasn't quite that mean, apparently. He was much more quiet and guarded than that. But, I mean, just the way he portrayed that. And that was controversial at that time with the white women and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But Jones was fantastic in that movie. I still have a tendency to watch it. You don't see it much anymore, but I guess it was a Broadway thing first, and then it became a movie. I'm referring to the movie. I thought the movie was fantastic. So
yeah, I would agree.
But those aren't baseball. But I have nothing to add to the baseball. I mean, to me, Field of Dreams clearly and Bull Durham, got to be in the top 2 or 3 to me. And I liked 8 Men Out. I mean, those 3 are the ones that if one of them do catch me and I stick with it, it's really those 3. Primarily 8 Men Out and Field of Dreams, even more than Bull Durham. So I don't have.
Let's try to baseball. Fletch, what are some of your favorites?
Well, I'm going to go my 2 movies that I would have liked to see on the list.
Oh, please.
And one of them it's an independent film that Dave, I know you've seen. It was the Doc Ellis No documentary.
Oh, that was classic.
Very interesting movie. Very, very interesting. A movie about redemption, also, talking about the no-hitter, I thought it was really well done. I would have had that on the list. And I'm going to go way obscure for this other one. This is a movie that I watched as a kid on a rainy day, and I still love this movie. It was made in 1953. It was called The Kid from Left Field. You guys ever hear of this movie?
Yeah, I have.
So it's about a kid who becomes the manager of a baseball team, where his dad, a former baseball player, is a peanut vendor. But it's one of those sappy Hollywood movies of the time. But for some reason, I always loved that movie.
You still see that occasionally on some of those cable channels with old movies. You still see that one too. So, yeah.
But in terms of other movies, Gary's right. There's been a lot of great boxing movies. Raging Bull being maybe the gold standard of all of them.
Not an easy one to watch. Dark as hell, like Cobb, but fantastically done. So
I thought that movie to me was one of the most realistic. Not taking, and again, the story you don't need to take many liberties with, but I agree with you. I thought that was one of the great, historically accurate, not just sports movies, but movies of all time.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then another fight movie, Gary, The Fighter. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah. Yep.
The Mickey Ward story. I thought that was really well done.
I thought about that, but I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then, the other thing for me is, guys, I love surfing, so Endless Summer would be on there. Riding Giants and Step into Liquid. Any of those. When I'm feeling down, one of those surf movies goes on, and it's just a great way to mellow out a little bit.
Well, certainly good. I mean, to me, the second greatest movie of all time is Miracle. I agree with you guys on that one. It
was very well. I mean, it did. Brooks was a tough guy to play for. He didn't last very long in the pros. Kind of like a Mike Keenan kind of guy. Yeah. But
here's the thing that's interesting about that.
It's an amazing story to begin with. Like we were talking, Dave, last week. Fletch, I was saying I saw the Russians, both the Red Army in Philly as well as Moscow Dynamo in Hershey. When I was a kid, I was 11, 12 years old, and the warm-up was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. They came out, they're all chewing gum. They came out, nobody said one word. They never even looked at each other. They would throw like a cross-ice pass of the 2-on-1 drills and it would land right on the tape, one after another. I mean, and to think that, 6 years later, got a bunch of college kids, ragtag college kids, beating them. Although, two documentaries you guys should get if you haven't seen it. One's at Red Army. It's a little dry, but they interview Fetisov and some of these guys. A lot of the guys that come over to play with the Red Wings later. And they talked about how unhappy they were. As good as they were, how unhappy they were. They lived in college dormitories, no air conditioning, no heat, couldn't talk to their families, any of that stuff. And they talk about, one of the reasons they ended up losing some of those tournaments, they didn't plan to lose. Of course, it affected their egos, but were terribly unhappy the way they were treated, even though they were considered to be gods over there. And then there's a documentary out there on boxing called Chasing Tyson that ESPN did. And it's Holyfield's pursuit of Tyson to finally dump him, from their amateur days. And, Tyson had all kinds of problems. He lost to Douglas. Holyfield didn't need to fight him then. And then he was incarcerated for the attack on that, the beauty queen in Indianapolis and blah, blah, blah. But then he finally gets him for that first upset in 1998. And it's not a movie, but it's a documentary. It's excellent. You guys should look it up if you haven't seen it. So that sounds good. And the difference in Holyfield and Tyson was monstrous, in terms of preparation and thoughts and everything else. And ESPN portrays that extremely well. So those two the documentary on Red Army is a little dry. It's about an hour and a half. But it's fantastic, and it does give some light as to why that upset occurred, I think. So,
going back to Miracle,
Miracle?
One thing that to me that's amazing about that movie is that they cast hockey players and not actors.
Yep.
And they were good. They were perfect at what they did.
Yes,
and the fact that they were able to get those acting performances out of those guys was pretty amazing.
I mean, whoever the director was, you're right, Fletch. I mean, it is pretty amazing. You're right. Whoever the director was, and it was obviously somebody who knew hockey too, to be able to do that. So,
but to me, the one thing that gets it is after they beat the Russians, when he just walks out of off the bench in what should be his greatest moment. and just goes in the corner and just cries his ass off. And I got it.
Well, him and me both.
Just torture. Huh?
Him and me both, Dave.
Oh my God! Yeah, every time. But I mean,
you read much about him, Dave? He was kind of a Dick Vermeil type of personality. Like he was such a. They portrayed it pretty well in that movie when the wife was talking to him. Like she's like, "Did you hear a thing I said?" And he goes, "No, actually, I didn't. I haven't heard a thing you said in 2 weeks or whatever he said." You know, he was kind of a guy that burned so hot, so intense. That's why he didn't last really that well at Minnesota or the Rangers, honestly. I mean, it's hard to do that in the NHL for a 6 to 8 month. You know what I mean? You almost can't do that. You'd be gone quick.
This was his
like
thing.
He
was getting, he was making up for 1960.
Yep.
Did you guys ever see the HBO documentary on that?
Yes. When Craig Patrick breaks down.
Oh, he breaks down worse than I did.
Excellently done.
It's perfect. You can't, and the shame of it is, if you didn't live in that era, I mean, my kids, when I talk about it, they look at me, and they just can't grasp it because there's no situation anymore that kind of dictates that.
Right. Right.
You know.
They're all here now. They're all here. I mean, some of them go to the KHL for a while when they're young or they're older, but they're all here now. So it's not. Yeah. It's homogenized. Back then it wasn't. And it was mythical.
How
you didn't see them.
Brought together everybody. I mean, usually it's something tragic that brings together a country. This was, I still haven't been able to replicate that feeling that I felt that evening.
Yeah, I don't think you ever would. I mean, the whole era, though. I mean, I was telling Dave Fletch, we're watching a game in Hershey. This was even the B team, so to speak, the Dynamo. My father watches it about 10 minutes. This guy had been watching hockey since the 30s, listening to NHL's Original Six on the radio in New York. Okay, and he says about 10 minutes in, he goes, "Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, pay attention to this. This is going to revolutionize hockey. Look at the conditioning of these guys. Look at the formations that they're in. This kind of stuff." And they weren't that big. I mean, they were fairly small, the Russians, I remember. But he was right. I mean, beyond the political stuff and those guys coming over the WHA days, it's just the way they played the game, the preparation and that kind of stuff was totally. I mean, the NHL was really, it was like the NBA, ABA almost. Similar story. You know, the NHL was a big bruising league. Esposito just go right down the slot, score 75 goals, and they came in and changed the way things were done, and then the WHA started to pick up on it. It was an amazing time. Hard for somebody now to understand because similar to football, all these NHL teams kind of play the same way in some regards now. Back then it wasn't that way.
Right.
And, I think Miracle portrayed a little bit of that too. They did Hollywoodize a little bit, the Russians, but they pretty much portrayed that accurately as well. So
great movie.
Yep.
But I'll mention one, and then we'll go on to our ending here. It's a movie that conflicts me because I don't like Notre Dame football, and quite frankly, I look at Rudy and look at him as a guy who was more a stalker than who wanted to have a college football career.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think he comes across as borderline crazy in the movie, but still fires you up. To watch it. But Rudy should have been in jail. If this happened today, Rudy would be in jail.
He would be. Yeah, you're right.
Oh man. Well, let's go to our big moments, Mr. Fletcher.
Well, I think to me this week the Steelers' performance on Sunday kind of confusing. The past few games, that for some reason James Conner's not touching the ball very much. He's averaging like maybe 17 touches as opposed to the 25 to 30 as he was getting those weeks before. So that was a game that loss. It was one that may affect them down the line in terms of seeding because they've got 5 games left, and 2 of them I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do with. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens from there.
Well, yeah, in a matter of one very poorly thrown pass, certainly the joy of what they were going through kind of ended fairly quickly, didn't it?
It did, and the shame about that is that the only reason that defensive lineman was able to make that play is because Pouncey cleared him out and knocked him 5 yards back into the end zone.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah. Ben had a couple passes like that day. I mean, he had a big day statistically. He had a couple passes like, what the hell was he looking at? Like, I mean, including especially that one. Like, it's a weird game for him.
One of the most troubling things, I was trying to switch away to avoid the conversation of fire Tomlin. It was all Tomlin's fault, and I turned on Bob Golick, and he tried to make it that somehow that was a great athletic play by the nose guard, who just happened to stand up and had a ball thrown in his gut. I'm not sure there was any athletic talent.
I think Fletch should be on the show instead of Golick. I mean, Fletch is right. Pouncey just knocked him backwards. Luckily, he didn't fall. And for some reason, I don't know what the hell Ben was looking at. There was nobody within miles of it.
No.
So it's like he was trying to throw the ball to one of the linemen. So
yeah. Just a poor play. But Gary, I'm going to guesstimate what your big week.
I mean, I don't know, Dave. You and me chatted about this. Fletch, we didn't. I mean, watching that against a program that historically has been competitive in that FCS playoffs, gets a ton of athletes from Baltimore to Philadelphia, all that kind of stuff, and I think even went to the title game, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 years ago.
2 years.
Two games within a game. The first half, it didn't look so good, but the defensive back from Harrisburg, their names are escaping me, but the strong safety from Harrisburg on that hit at the goal line, which not only did he make the big hit, but then he recovered the fumble, totally changed the game. In the second half, when the Dukes came out, that was the biggest ass-kicking of a highly ranked team you'll ever see in any tournament. I don't care if it's basketball, volleyball, or polo, for Christ's sakes. In the second half, they completely kicked their ass in horrendous conditions. And I'm telling you, if Hines doesn't get an invite somewhere, the NFL's nuts. He's not that big, but he can carry the ball. He's got big shoulders and a big rear end, and honestly, he can catch the ball, too. And when he gets the ball in the open field, he can move. So, I mean, I think what a day. I mean, as you said, Dave, now we're one of the best 16 teams in the FCS. That's how they got to pitch it. They got the same chance to do what Dan Brott's doing in basketball here. I'm already impressed by 3/4 of the defensive backfield is from Florida or other places. I mean, they're already doing a good job. Keep it going. I mean, I don't think they have much of a chance from what I read now going forward, but doesn't matter. I mean, that was a game. All the so-called experts, some of them picked them to lose 55-17, 55-21. Well, guess again. A lot better. And the offensive line on that team is a damn good offensive line. And the adjustments as well. Coaching staff deserves full credit for the adjustments. They kicked the shit out of Towson in that second half. And you could even look on those Towson kids' face. I couldn't believe what they were seeing, too, in that driving rainstorm, which moved up to Atlantic City later that night. We couldn't even see out of the taxi when it picked us up. So,
like the 48-14 Pitt debacle over Penn State, this was similar. It was 10-0 Towson. Towson was about to go over to make it 17-0 and pretty much end the game. And a fumble there, and Duquesne never looked back. 31 unanswered points.
Parr got the ball. They drove down, I think, in about 50-some seconds. They drove and got 3. I said to Patty, I said, you know what? That's exactly what you needed to happen in this kind of condition. Now it's a close game. Well, it wasn't a close game after that. I mean, they really whipped them pillar to post in that second half. And in those conditions, I don't know. Just got to give full props. But got to keep it going now. Got to use that stuff.
It gets you fired up. I mean, for me, I was there in '79. That was my freshman year when they played Gallaudet in the first varsity football game they had played there in 3 decades. And just to see where that team came from. Dan McCann in his office with Iron City beer cans everywhere. Pedro Boat.
Oh, it was one of the great interviews, though.
Oh, he was, wasn't he?
He was. But the program was going to go nowhere under him, and the administration just didn't care at all.
Yeah.
This the AD, even in basketball. I mean, look at that scheduling. I mean, think of the record that could give them going into a conference that is not as strong as it once was. I mean, 9 straight games they're going to play in the city of Pittsburgh. and they get two Division I opponents. You know, the Big Ten, Penn State, and the West Virginia or Pitt. They get them at a neutral site, which should help. Yeah. So I mean, it's just the school's got a lot of things going right, but I think in Pittsburgh to have a football program that's competitive like that, they're certainly not going to outdraw Pitt, or even West Virginia for not even going to get the same level of attention, but they're going to get pretty good attention out there. And just a great day, and I hope they can keep it going. I would think they would. So
yeah. Well, my big thing of the week also has to do with our alma mater and the guys down Forbes Avenue, Pitt. 2 years ago, it looked like basketball in Pittsburgh was about to become just so far under everything else that it may have been a third page story after every game at best. Pitt looking embarrassing, especially last year. Duquesne under Jim Ferry was just miserably failing. Nobody thought either team would be able to reprogram in the next 5 to 10 years. But Jeff Capel at Pitt, and I don't even understand how you do it. The recruiting season was over. He was hired in January after everything had been done. And somehow he finds a way to get the 35th best recruiting class in the country. Just dumbfounding what he did. And watching that team, I've seen most of their games. It's athletic. It plays hard defensively.
Yep.
And it is light years ahead of what it was. And at Duquesne on the Bluff, Dan Brott has brought this team back from the dead quickly. After the Ferry season, I thought he's a good coach, but how the hell is he going to win here? Well, let me tell you, you look at those guys he has on that court right now, and we haven't seen that since we were in school in the late 70s, early 80s.
I agree.
Kind of athletes here. And they're going to play on this Friday, a city game that for the first time since the early 1980s is a game you can look forward to, is a game that's going to be competitive, close. And with the way they're growing these teams, it's going to be a game that's that way in the future, too. And you look at the NCAA has come up with a new formula. They call them the net ratings, NCAA evaluation, whatever the T stands for. But it's to take the place of the RPI. And you look down, and what was not more than 2 months earlier a dead basketball town, Pitt is ranked 23rd in the country on these ratings, and Duquesne is 40th, the top Atlantic 10 team in the ratings. This is what they're going to use to determine the NCAA bids. Now that's 2 out of, what are we up to? We're up to 353 teams. Chicago State, Coppin State, Fletch. Coppin State at 351, by the way, at 0-7. Boy, light years away from what we saw.
One of my great basketball moments.
Oh, has to be. But just 2 unbelievable turnarounds in such a short period of time. And this city game is just going to be one that I think everybody can look down and really enjoy. Basketball in the future, it's going to become what Cincinnati has with Xavier and Cincinnati.
Yeah, hope so.
Should be. 5 teams. Yeah.
Couldn't agree. Similar situation, city size, everything else. Attention should be that, Dave. You're right on. So
absolutely. Now, Gary, your prediction of the week.
Yeah, I don't know. I was starting to think about this. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. I think I could take some of the easy. I'm going to go back to what I know the best. There actually is a heavyweight fight of significance this Saturday. It's Deontay Wilder, who's an American guy from Alabama. He's like 41-0. He's knocked a lot of people out. He was an Olympian, although he didn't win the gold medal. Not a big surprise there. He's fighting a guy named Tyson Fury, who's a wacko. Had upset Klitschko 3 years ago, and then went into all kinds of crap, getting heavy, using dope, drugs, everything else. But he's still 6'9", and he's got quite a jab. I don't think it's going to be a great fight. I think Wilder's going to blow through him. I think Fury will give. They're both big. Fury 6'9", about 250. Wilder 6'7", like 235. Wilder's a lot more athletic. I think he's going to get close middle rounds. I think he's going to stop Fury. I think Fury will give him some trouble for a couple rounds, but I predict Wilder by stoppage sometime between 8 and 10. It'll be the first time an American will have held a major heavyweight belt in quite some time, too. So that's where I'm going to go. I mean, there's plenty of football and stuff, but I kind of know this a little bit better. So,
all right. Mr. Fletch.
Well, guys, you wouldn't know this based upon what we saw on Saturday with the dismal performance that Pitt had against Miami. But they're in the championship game coming up against Clemson, a team that they beat 2 years ago, shocking the world, shocking everyone, the fact that they were able to do that, especially with what was a bad season at the very beginning. But it was, as we talked about before, Pat Narduzzi seems to be good for one of those big upsets every year. So we come to this game against Clemson, highly ranked Clemson. Clemson, the team that if they win this game, they're in the tournament. Well, let me tell you guys, Pitt is going to cover. 25-point underdogs. I think they're going to lose by 24.
Which would be a better performance than last week.
Yeah, that was an offense that looked awful.
I was just amazed. I didn't see any of it. I'm just amazed at that. As good of a role they were on, I guess I just didn't expect that type of outcome there because Miami's had a bumpy season. Yeah, I would have thought they would have gone into this contest a little bit better than that, but it surprised me what I saw and read. So,
I mean, the last I heard, the spread for this weekend was 25. It may have gone up.
It was 25. Yeah, it's still there. So, all right, 24. Well,
I just hope they give them a ball game. I mean, I'm getting tired of listening to how wonderful Alabama and Clemson are, all this kind of stuff. I mean, you just hope somebody gives them a ball game. Let's see what they do under some duress too. They really haven't been tested all year, Clemson or Alabama, really. I mean, I just hope I hope they give them a little. Dave, I hope it's a little bit like. I mean, it's certainly not going to be the Duquesne Towson outcome, but I hope they give them a little bit of a tussle. Let's just see what they do.
Yeah, I agree. But I believe you heard here last week that I predicted Duquesne would defeat Towson.
I think you also predicted a big Michigan victory, too, not to bring that up. But.
Well, I can't say that one because I was about as dead wrong in that as anybody. I've had a bad year of predicting, so hopefully
I don't remember saying
across the country, right?
I didn't think Michigan played last week. I thought there was a bye.
Well, I think you were right.
That's what it was. Yeah,
they thought so too.
Yeah,
but I don't think they're going to win this week. I hope they play competitive. It's a different atmosphere up there. But I will say, Duquesne 75, the University of Pittsburgh 71 in the city.
Ooh.
Close game. And the reason I'm doing this, it's not a hard thing, but the one thing I saw, Pitt played well this past week against St. Louis, who was projected as the first team in the A-10. But what St. Louis did to them was just abuse them on the boards with their height. Duquesne having that similar advantage.
That's a
big
guy.
It's a very guard-oriented team.
Yeah.
And I think that height advantage is going to be the difference in this contest. I think the city game comes home to Duquesne.
When's the last time they beat them? They did beat them about
10 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
2016 they beat them.
Dave, I was out to dinner that night. I had a company dinner, and I remember you called.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe what you were telling me.
You put Gus Farad on the phone with me.
I passed the phone to Gus Farad for him to hear the news as well.
That was a wonderful night for me.
Yeah, I do remember. I didn't see that one, but I do remember looking at something. And I thought, "Holy cow! I can't believe that happened." So,
my son, who's a Pitt grad, he said he was pissed at first, and he looked at the look on my face. It must have just been a pure joy look. And he said, "How could I be pissed off? Look at how happy you were." And
it's a little early. The one thing I think about with Duquesne Day that worries me, though, is Dan Brought's got a lot of guys now.
Yeah.
And, his recruiting probably was, look, you come here, you're going to play, you're going to get plenty of attention. He goes about 10, 11 deep. I just don't know if he can keep them all now. Some of those guys are going to think, hey, I should be playing 36 minutes somewhere. It's a little early to be predicting that, but he's got more deep talent than they've had there in, 4 seasons combined at times in the past.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, last year
I just hope that he can keep them all happy because watching that game, even UMass Lowell's nothing, but watching them in that game, I mean, it's hard to get them all the minutes that some of them probably thought they were going to get.
No, but, I mean, that was a good team. That was not a good team, but it was certainly a better team than what they usually produce. And he
agreed.
He warmed down and the hype got him. Yeah, that guy reminds me of Scooby-Doo, Rutroff, who's just, he turned it into like Dave Olinger, 6'11" Pitt center, if you remember that from.
Yeah.
Except one who is actually athletic and can play the game.
Yeah.
But this kid he's got a nice shot from 3-point range, but much less from under.
I mean, it's amazing some of the athletes he's gotten in here. I mean, even the backup point guard that backs up Carey. I mean, he looks like he could play pretty high minutes.
Yeah.
So,
they're deep. This is finally the year I reel Fletch in after all these years. You will now believe, Fletch.
Well, we'll see. I want to believe, Dave. I want to believe.
I know you do. Well, you're going to start believing with a win this weekend. How about that?
If there's a win this weekend, I'm on.
Now and December 31st to go out and check them out. Fletch, you got 9 chances in the month of December. So.
All right, gentlemen. Well, you have a lovely evening, and
you too.
Remember, shoo, rah, rah, coming back.
All right, gentlemen.
Good night, gentlemen.
We'll see you. Bye.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.